The fluorescent lights of the small grocery store flickered softly, casting a warm glow over the aisles. It was a chilly evening in Los Angeles, and the streets were just beginning to empty as people hurried home. Inside the store, an elderly woman named Margaret shuffled through the produce section, her frail hands trembling slightly as she picked up a bag of apples. She hesitated for a moment, her wrinkled face etched with concern as she looked at the price tag. With a soft sigh, she placed the apples back and continued down the aisle, her shoulders hunched under the weight of unseen burdens. Keanu Reeves had always preferred quiet, unassuming places like this. Fame had never interested him, at least not in the way it did other celebrities. He found solace in the ordinary, in moments of quiet humanity. That evening, dressed in a simple black hoodie and jeans, he had slipped into the store unnoticed, hoping to grab a few essentials before heading home. As he reached for a carton of milk, his sharp eyes caught sight of Margaret. He watched as she clutched a small grocery list, her fingers tracing over the items as she mumbled to herself. There was an unmistakable sadness in her eyes, a hesitation in her movements that tugged at his heart. Keanu stepped forward just as Margaret reached the checkout counter. She placed a few modest items, a loaf of bread, a carton of eggs, a small bottle of milk, onto the conveyor belt. The cashier rang them up, and Margaret reached into her worn purse, counting her money carefully. Her hands shook slightly as she realized she didn't have enough. "Oh dear," she murmured, flustered. I'm short by a few dollars. Let me just put something back." Before she could decide, a calm, deep voice interrupted. "Allow me." Margaret turned to see a tall man standing beside her, his kind eyes crinkling at the corners as he offered a warm smile. She blinked in surprise, recognition dawning on her face. "Oh my, you're—" Keanu simply shook his head with a gentle chuckle. "Just a guy who wants to help." Before she could protest, he handed the cashier a crisp $20 bill. "And please add a few more things for her." Margaret's eyes welled up with tears. I don't know what to say." Keanu patted her hand softly. "Just promise me you'll have a good dinner tonight." By now, the other customers in the store had started whispering, their eyes widening as they realized who he was. A young woman discreetly pulled out her phone, capturing the heartfelt moment. But Keanu didn't care about the attention. He only cared about the gratitude and relief on Margaret's face. As they walked outside together, Margaret hesitated before speaking. "You know, my husband used to do things like this. He passed away a few years ago, and ever since—" She trailed off, her voice thick with emotion. "It's been hard." Keanu nodded, his expression turning solemn. "I understand loss," he said quietly. "More than I'd like to." Margaret looked at him, seeing something deeper in his gaze, something only those who had truly suffered could recognize in another. "Thank you, Mr. Reeves, for this, for everything." "Call me Keanu," he said with a smile. "And it was my pleasure." The video of their interaction spread like wildfire online, melting hearts across the world. Fans praised him, calling him a true gentleman, a rare soul in Hollywood. But Keanu never commented on it. He didn't need to. To him, kindness wasn't something to be praised. It was simply how the world should be.